And action. Waiting for the click. You got this timed out. This is your first time doing this, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, my 57th time doing this. So, episode 57 of the Inside Real Estate Podcast. Greg Davis, thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. So, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but give us a little background on yourself. Tell us who you are.
Ooh, wow. Reader's Digest version? Condensed?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Wow. I'm not even sure how I would describe myself. Background, I don't know. I mean, if you want to know the real estate background, the real estate background is my family's been in real estate for 90 plus years. So I tell people I'm genetically predisposed to the business. My great-grandfather started in as a builder and owned rental properties. One of his sons owned a lumber yard, building supply company. His other son started a real estate brokerage in the 60s and then got into developing as well. And that's really who I grew up around. And that's, I spent a ton of time with that person, which was my father's uncle. My father and he were very close in age, and they were kind of like brothers. They grew up, around each other. So I grew up around my father's uncle, who was in real estate, and that's really kind of where my passion ignited, I think, and where everything came together for me.
Nice. What was the name of the brokerage? Something we would know?
Harper Real Estate in Delaware County. So
Okay.
Ridley Park in Delaware County.
Oh, cool. Is that where you grew up?
So originally from Ridley Park, moved to Ocean City, New Jersey year-round. Lived down there for a couple of years. Moved back to Westchester area here.
So you straight up lived down there?
Yeah, I've
Like
so
full-time?
at 2 points in my life. I mean, I've spent every summer of my life in Ocean City. But I did live down there year-round at two specific points. One when I was younger and went to elementary school and middle school down there. And then later on when I was in college, I took a year off of college to find myself. I'm still looking in case you see me. But then I moved back down there and surfed and painted houses and figured out what my next move was before stepping into everything else.
So, like for you, like you said, you found your passion in real estate. I guess being around it, all that type of stuff. What was that like moment or trigger that just said like, this is it, this is what I'm doing?
So that's a really great question. I can't honestly tell you like there was that ignition source. Being around my uncle, who his mind was brilliant, just brilliant. And again, he had the real estate brokerage, but then he started, building apartment complexes and then shopping centers and doing development deals with Walgreens and Walmart and Acme, and he was involved in the building of the Granite Run Mall.
Know that well.
So we've all spent some time there.
Yep.
So just being around him, I don't know what it was, but I always knew that I belonged in real estate. I just couldn't figure out what that was. So I guess that was a development for me. I decided I was going to make the move into real estate in 2003, got my Pennsylvania license. 2004, I was working for an environmental company at that point in time. That's a whole nother story. And I got my license, and I was going to go into real estate full-time at my family's brokerage. My youngest daughter comes along. She's 2.5 months early, so she's in the NICU. I'm not sure if she's going to have any issues or not. The company I was working with, I had built them from like $2 million in revenue up to $6 million in revenue, so they were trying to retain me, and they were throwing crazy offers at me. But with my daughter being born premature and not knowing whether there'd be any health issues or not, I took the safe fallback route. So I didn't go into real estate as a full-time venture there. I went back into the environmental business, or continued with that, I should say. And really from there, I got into buying, fixing, and holding, buying, fixing, and flipping, and the investment side of real estate. So did that before I went to the traditional, retail agent side of the business.
Do you still do the investment stuff?
I do, but in a very different way. So I don't. What's the best way to describe this? I have rental properties. I've had them for a number of years. Mm-hmm. That's its own business and its own dynamic. If the opportunity came up if I came across an opportunity to buy a property that the numbers work for a rental in an area where I would want to buy it, I would absolutely buy it. Same thing with a flip. If I came across a property that I could buy at a discount and do the renovation and flip it, I would absolutely do that. But I'm no longer actively looking. You know, my real estate investment at this point is really private lending was what I do. And I've shifted that. I used to lend to flippers. So if you're looking to flip a house and you need the cash to purchase or for the rehab, I would, lend on that. I found that as I'm getting older, that's putting too much large chunks of money in one place for shorter periods of time that I've got to then turn over and find new placements. So I've moved more into private placements and different things that are longer term where I can still get the returns, but have spread that money out and have a better security.
Okay.
That.
Makes sense. So, and then you were doing that, then you got into doing the residential stuff. So how did that what was that transition like?
Wow. So I told you I was in the environmental business. Mm-hmm. I started in that business in 1992 accidentally. Again, I told you I was trying to find myself when I took a year off from college, and I stumbled into that business and learned it, and I was really good at it. I just never liked it. I had my own environmental consulting and remediation company. I used to teach realtors and home inspectors about residential heating oil tanks and other environmental liabilities. In fact, I just did that class for the agents here the other day, just to, so they can recognize those things in transactions. So I had my own company. I had an issue with one of my partners. I sold the assets off of that company and went back to work for the prior company I was with, and then that's the company that I said I built from $2 to $6 million, and then eventually took them to $12 million and sale. What did you ask me?
How'd you get going into the residential?
Okay. Thank you.
And we're off.
And we're off. Yes. So I never was really passionate about the environmental business. When I had my company, the plan was to build that company, get it to a point where I could sell it, but use the money to buy real estate assets, strip malls and things like that. And I had a partner that was an engineer where we could do development deals and things like that. So that was really the end game. So that real estate passion was always there. And, bear in mind, I'm doing some of the investment stuff on the side as I went back into the environmental industry again. But at one point, COVID comes along. Things change. I mean, thank God I figured out a way to keep the environmental company alive by using a water restoration damage contract we had we were doing decontamination and cleanings at the New Jersey State Police Barracks and where the governor was doing his speeches during that whole pandemic. So we were the company that was deconning all of that.
Wow.
So I just wanted to get out of the business. I just was never passionate about it. It was a means to an end. The real estate thing was always there. I was doing the flipping, buying, fixing, and holding, wholesaling, and I just decided enough's enough. I'm not getting any younger, and I need to make the jump, and I did.
Yeah. So you were so really you had exposure to real estate your whole life through family, right? And you were doing these other things with the environmental and all of that. And at that point, what you were doing with real estate was more just hey, let me do good things with my money, essentially.
It was, I guess, I don't want to say it was self-serving, but it was, it was trying to build assets and build a future, passive income, things along those lines.
Sure. And then, so when you did say hey, I need to get out of this business, you decided to get into, residential sales. Was it just the first jump off point, or were you kind of, were you fully committed at that point, or was it just hey, I need to get out and do something else, and this is what I chose?
Yeah, no, I didn't wade into this. I had been wading into it from 2004 when I bought my first investment property up to,
Okay.
I don't know when, right after the pandemic is when I 6 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever
Yeah.
it is at this point. I just had enough. I just had enough of that business and said, okay, this is it. So I spoke to the owner of the company. I said, look, we need to come up with a transition plan here for me. I want to get out, and basically, how much time do you need? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and made a plan to do that.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened. And yes, there was a complete step off,
Wow.
but there was not a. But I again, coming from a real estate family, and diverse real estate, not just brokerage side of things, and having exposure to those conversations, and doing the buy, fix, and hold, flipping and wholesaling.
Yeah.
I had been doing this stuff. It wasn't like it was just like I decided on a career change and knew nothing about it. And that was kind of its own danger. Coming into the traditional agent side, there's things you need to unlearn as coming from the investment side.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But the benefit was I had all kinds of background. I understood the contracts. I understood, legal and technical writing I've always done. So the contract side was good. Construction, that's my background. I've built houses ground up. So, the environmental, I understand those liabilities.
You had the sale experience too.
Of course.
Doing all that. The environmental stuff is actually pretty
Well, when you're trying
interesting.
to sell environmental remediation projects, you have to understand that this is something that people are forced to do. It's not something that they want to do. They don't want to spend any money on this stuff.
Right.
So it is the most negative sale possible. It's like saying, I've got this great disease for you. You're going to lose weight. That's really what that sale is like. It's a very negative thing. They're forced to do it, and at the end of the day, after you disturb all their property and everything along those lines, they get a nice letter from the state saying thanks for your compliance. That's basically it, right?
Yeah. So, okay. So you did all that. You got started. So did you? You have your Jersey license now, right?
Yeah.
How quick did you get that?
God, not as quick as you would think. My experience in the environmental business was in New Jersey, and it's a running joke.
Okay.
It's a running. Look, I did stuff all over the country, but I also did stuff in Pennsylvania. But primarily, the work was in New Jersey because the regulations there drove that. So it's a running joke between me and my wife. When I back out of my driveway, despite living here in Westchester for all the years I have, and we're going somewhere local, I'll ask her, well, how do I get there? And she always says, well, you lived here your entire life, and how do you not know how to get there? And I always respond, I've driven to New Jersey every day of my life, and literally you could parachute me anywhere in the state of New Jersey from tip to tail, and I know exactly where I am. And I know a lot of, from the residential heating oil tank business, I know the neighborhoods in South Jersey, Atlantic County, Burlington County, Camden County, Gloucester County. And of course, the coastal areas, down at the beach, I know them super well because I grew up in Ocean City, been surfing since I was 6 years old, sailing since I was 6 years old. Surfing, you chase the storms. So anytime there was, the storms came, I was anywhere from, Montauk, New York, all the way down to Sebastian Inlet, Florida. Yeah. But in New Jersey, Brigantine down to Cape May, depending on how the wind and the waves were moving. So, I've been in all those towns all my life. I know where it floods.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious. So you have, obviously you have to have some level of networking and database coming from your other business, right? You're coming into this, the business pretty well. A lot of people start from scratch with no kind of, literally are starting from scratch. You had a nice foundation. What was starting your residential real estate business like for you? And what'd you go about doing to get started? So
I'm a very analytical person. I'm more introverted. I really enjoy one-to-one deep conversations like, we're having here. I'm not a networking guy. So, you put me into a room of 100 people with all their businesses, and they're coming up and accosting you with their business card and trying to vomit on you with what they're selling in 2 seconds. That's like kryptonite to me. So I knew I had to look at my business very differently, because the real estate business at its core is simple, but not easy. It's simple, meaning you got to talk to people.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's a weak point for me, right? It's not that I'm not good talking to people. It's just that I'm very happy alone and in my own space and working on, bigger things. I'm very good on strategy. Tactical is a little bit more of a challenge for me.
Okay.
So that being the case, I looked at this, I said, this is a 5-year build. Before I really get this thing rolling, this is a 5-year build. So, like, who do I know currently? And thankfully, having the connection with family, there were some opportunities there within the family for, properties that needed to be sold, or buyers, or, referrals other way. So that's really kind of how it started, and just, learning the business on how to connect with people.
How did you, like, within that 5-year build, it sounds like right off the bat, you understood how to run a business. I think that's one of the
I've owned businesses. I own an environmental remediation company. I owned a building and construction company.
Right.
I built that other business. I'm very clear on how to run a business.
That's a weak point for so many agents, right? Sure. So you're saying this is going to be a 5-year build for me. What was, like, take us through some of the steps, some of, like, your initial actions. What are you doing to, like, get started?
Well, the first thing I did was sold a couple of rental properties to fund it.
Okay.
I have a family, and they're accustomed to living at a certain level and lifestyle, and I did very well in the environmental business. So, I wanted to make sure there was capital available to fund that, because as you know, with the real estate business, it's, you're unemployed every day.
Volunteer work till the settlement table.
Exactly, correct. That's a great way to look at it. And you're not, you get these chunks of money and then nothing, chunks of money, nothing. And of course, the goal is to try and keep that steady, to build that to a steady point. But when you're starting off, that's not the case.
Right.
So I wanted to have, reserves to cover household expenses, but also to drive, marketing and things, coaching that I started doing, and other things along those lines.
Okay, cool. What, you remember your first deal?
I mean, the first deal was my own properties, right?
First one you helped somebody buy or sell.
First one I helped somebody sell. I remember, sure.
Your first one was a sell side.
Yeah, it was. Wow. It was a listing.
Cool.
But I mean, honestly, I'm better. I don't want to say I'm better on the listings. I'm more methodical and technical.
You have more. You do have that ability more on the listing side.
Strategic plan. Mm-hmm. So from the listing side, I do things very differently than most people.
Yeah.
The buyer's side, I'm very good on the buyer's side for, my background, my construction and environmental background, and the way my brain works, to be able to see things and think through things and negotiate things for a buyer. That's my value. Where I'm not good with buyers is, I'm not a huggy, kissy type of guy. You want raw data. I'm your guy. You want to, go hang out and, go dancing or whatever. I'm not the guy,
No. No, fair enough. Okay, so what was, so you really didn't have any of that, like, you never really ran into that. I didn't really know how to handle a transaction or anything.
I didn't run into, I don't know how to handle a transaction. I ran into, again, the difference between the investment mindset and paperwork versus the standard forms and retail traditional side of the business. Again, the approach is very, I can't say it's very different. There's a lot of similarities there.
So you had to adjust in that department, but what do you think was, excuse me, what do you think you were able to take from your experience on the other side to help make you really strong on working for other people and helping them accomplish what they were doing? What did you bring from that is maybe a strength that not everybody has in this business?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. You know, having the building and construction knowledge, there's times I'll see things that a home inspector won't pick up on. Or I'll look at something and say, well, this could be reconfigured this way from the flipping side. If somebody's walking through a house and they can't visualize something, I can help them see that and have a good handle on it'll probably cost around this much. And have the contractor resources to refer to somebody to take care of some of those things. I think the other part of that is just my background in environmental and the investment side of contracts, technical and legal writing. I mean, I used to write technical reports, large-scale purchase contracts, and I used to do professional witness testimony, so I used to beat attorneys all the time. So, and I love that. There's nothing more fun than beating an arrogant attorney. And there's some really great attorneys out there that I got I had the pleasure of working with. And when we teamed up, I mean, we were unstoppable. But understanding that, I think that's a weak spot for a lot of agents. And you have to be, it's a fine line. You can't practice law.
Right.
And New Jersey is even more stringent with that because, everything's 3-day attorney review in New Jersey. But even so, you have to be careful. But despite that, I can look at things differently and craft language that's clear and make sure that we, get done what we need to get done for a buyer or seller from a contract standpoint.
That's big. When I had my real estate license, I actually enjoyed the contracts. That was probably one of my favorite part about it. It's like when I was doing it and I'm reading, I'm like, I don't know why I enjoyed it, but I'm like, maybe I should have been a lawyer.
You see so much poor language that other agents will put out there from an experience, or they're not talking to their broker and getting guidance on it, and.
It isn't rocket science, honestly. But you know what? We say that because you do it every day. Brain works that way. You know what I mean? Not everybody's brain works that way. Sure. But it was just something. I remember a story when I was a fresh agent years ago, and this other agent who was kind of giving some advice. She told this story about she was on the buy side, and the sellers. The sellers had like an heirloom chandelier in the foyer.
It's always the chandelier.
Right? And the buyers wanted it. And they asked for it in the initial contract, and they said no. And it was in the exclusions, or in the exclusions. Yeah.
Okay.
Exclusions. But then they came back, countered. They ended up agreeing on that counter, but what they did was instead of writing it in, they typed it in. They had two attorneys and the agent, and sellers don't look at it the same way, all the time. And they all missed it. And they wrote in there that they got it. And then they were like, when they found out that chandelier was coming with the sale, they were like, the agent was like begging for mercy, and they didn't give it to him.
Yeah.
And, and I was like, man. And I remember the new agent orientation at the Realtor Association when I first got my license. Sure. This one guy was there, and he was talking about the agreement of sale. And I'll never forget this sentence he said. He said, the moment you don't respect this document, you're fucked.
Yeah.
100%, literally said it like 100%, that.
Because that is, at the end of the day, doesn't matter what the conversations are, that's the controlling document.
Yep.
So, you better read it, and you better know what's in it.
Yep. No, it's very cool. Okay, so we kind of have a nice foundation to move forward with this next part. So talk to me about, like, who do you work with? Who's Greg Davis's client base?
My client avatar.
Yeah.
Wow. It's shifted a bit. I would say that really my best client avatar is high net worth individuals that want somebody that's trusted, more straightforward information in high stakes decision making. What I mean by that is I'm a little bit different of an animal than most people. My business is suburbs to shore. So I really cover Chester County, Delaware County, parts of Montgomery County, and then over into, Atlantic, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester counties, all the way to the shore areas. So my clients are a lot of times people that have a suburbs home, and they also either have a second home at the shore, or they're looking to buy or sell in the beach areas. So that's really who my clients primarily are.
Are you finding, is it mostly people looking for that second home, or are you dealing with people that are just moving down the beach?
It's usually second homes. It's very rare that I find somebody that's actually moving from here or another location to live down there year round. A lot of times with, clients in that space, I don't know. They're usually business owners or executives, corporate type executives that have that capital. So some of those people are younger. Some of them are older, and for example, some of the people that will buy down in the coastal areas, they want the memories with their grandchildren. They want to reproduce those memories and the nostalgia that they had as when they were kids or when they had their kids down there. And then they want to share that with their grandkids. So to some extent, there is a plan where they may retire down there. Mm-hmm. I do see that, but usually it's a second home just for second home purposes, not a primary. So you have your suburbs home where you thrive and your beach house where you come alive. That's
for sure. So when you're saying high net worth individuals, right? Would you related to the people that you're dealing with, would you equate that to luxury homeowners, or are they just people who have a nice nest egg a lot of times?
So it's a great question. It's a mix of both. Some of the price points in the coastal areas can get steep for a second home. Similarly, some of the home prices in Chester County in that beginning or luxury market can get steep as well.
Are they coming from like a pimping house when they're buying that other one, or are they coming from normal?
So that's a great question, and the answer is primarily not. It's people that have good jobs, good businesses. They're not flaunting their money. They're low key millionaires. It's that type of the millionaire next door type of scenario where they've saved, or they have a business that's doing well, and they're able to buy. Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So a lot of people now, high net worth individual. I'm sure you have. There are people that spend it more extravagantly,
sure,
and others that are more modest. But you find a lot of agents. I can't tell you how many times I run into an agent. It's like, I want to break into the luxury market, and they just it's like, come on,
yeah.
Like it's not that it's not doable, but it's not just, hey, I want that. They don't. But connecting with people that might fall into that category isn't easy. Now, whether or not you're seeing that they're, for lack of a better term, flaunting it, or just living, like a normal human being, just like a regular person. How are you connecting with people that you would consider high net worth?
Great question. I could do better on that is the true answer, right? There's a number of things I could do better with that. I tend to get a lot of referrals. Okay. With the New Jersey license, in my brokerage, I'm one of the few agents with a New Jersey license, but I can tell you with complete confidence, not any arrogance, that if you're looking for a guy that knows the beach areas, I'm it. There's nobody better. So the problem I see with a lot of New Jersey licensed agents, not this brokerage, across the platform I'm talking about, and people, visit down in these coastal areas, or they have, relatives down there, and they're down there off and on. And they go, oh, I should get my New Jersey license because they see the price points. Mm-hmm. and that's attractive to agents. But there's so much that can go wrong if you don't know those areas. And I know people that will sell somebody a home unintentionally without knowledge, and they just bought a brand new, $2 million home in an area where there's no parking, it floods, or they buy, bayfront and they forgot to look at the pilings. The pilings are rotted, and now they're in for $100,000 worth of bulkhead replacement, or in the lagoons, the water's not deep enough for the boat that they want to get in there.
Yeah.
So knowing all these things is key. You can't just be attracted by the high price points. You have to have somebody that really knows the areas.
So and I could see that being, I could see you connecting with these people. When I am around people who are high net worth people,
yeah,
they seem to have they're, I don't want to call people who maybe aren't high net worth stupid, but they seem to be like at a very,
the thought process is very different. It's very different. It's more rational, less and calculated, less emotionally driven.
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Yeah, 100%. I could see you working well with those people.
That absolutely. I mean, that's really, again, going back to somebody that is in that financial space, and they don't want to just pick somebody out of a hat to work with down in the beach area. They have a home here. Well, I can work with them here and I can work with them there and have equal knowledge in both places and be able to handle those transactions for them seamlessly.
Yeah. So not only I think your background in owning a business kind of makes you not that you have to be a business owner, but I just think I don't know, just sitting here talking to you, I just think the way that you're I can see your wheels turning kind of thing.
Sure.
I could see it connecting very well with those people. Now, in addition to that, but the fact that you have the knowledge base that you do in it, as well as knowing the areas and stuff like that, I think they probably look at it like a huge upside versus the person that's look at me.
Of course. When you're in that space, and particularly if you've worked very hard to acquire that money for all those years, it's super important you have somebody that you really trust and are confident with.
It's amazing to me how many people hand the responsibility of helping them buy or sell something of such a big, dollar
Big
amount.
ticket item. Sure.
Yeah. To just anybody.
Yeah.
All the time I'm because sometimes I'll see these people, I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-boggling sometimes.
Yeah.
Actually. But aside from that, but yeah, I mean, and a kind of compliment to you. I mean, I just think, I can see it. That it makes perfect sense. The person that you're saying that you end up gravitating towards or gravitate towards you.
I think, I mean, it's a personality fit for me for sure. But I mean, I've got salt water in my veins. I mean, I'm a coastal person at heart. It's where I come alive. So my passion is really there, that passion really comes through in those coastal areas for sure.
Are those your favorite deals when you're working in the coastal areas?
That's tough to say. Each deal's unique, right? And I mean, I had some really great deals in Chester County area, and there's nothing better than helping somebody find that core base of operations, that core home that they've been looking for that suits their needs in these areas, or sell one of those homes. I mean, the buying side's super fun down there because I get to be down there in the area I want to be down and show people something I'm super passionate about. So
I feel like you would be. I can picture I have I like cars. Right.
So do I.
And I
I've had a car problem for a long time.
Yeah. And and I've helped friends and family and stuff buying their cars, but I always notice that I'm really enthusiastic. Not trying to be, it just happens that way. When I'm kind of helping them do research.
It lights you up.
Yeah.
It just lights you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And it just is it like that for you when you're dealing in that area?
Well, real estate in general is like that for me.
Okay.
To be honest, we talked about my prior career a little bit, and like I said, I was great at it. I mean, I did well financially and was able to build, a couple of companies and all that. But I hated it. Like every day was like drudgery, getting out of bed to do it.
Yeah.
Real estate, whether it's suburbs or shore, like every day I wake up, I'm excited to do the business. I'm excited to have the conversations with people, which is ironic because, like I said, I'm more of an introvert. But but having those deep, meaningful conversations with individuals for those types of transactions. I mean, if you're asking me to weight it on a scale, of course, the beach stuff I'm going to tell you is more passionate for me because it's where my soul lives.
Right, a contract hop on a surfboard.
There you go. Sure.
Okay. How I can see why it's super important to know and I want to go down to the in reference to like the coastal area. I can see how important it is to know the ins and outs of the areas.
Sure.
There's so many like little nuances to the different towns and all that type of stuff. How important is it the coastal New Jersey versus just normal suburban Pennsylvania? Is it as important to be that as much of an expert here as it is there to do the job?
I would say yes. I would.
You have to.
I know. Yeah, I know. I was going to default answer here. Default answer. I would say yes. It's important in different ways.
Okay.
So
unpack that.
Why it's important in different ways is in the coastal areas, there's a lot of things that can bite you. You're spending a large amount of money versus potentially here. And it's second home. So if some working with high net worth individuals that have looking at that person that's really saved their money, they may live in a modest house here in Chester County, Delaware County, Montgomery County, these areas. When you're buying a second home at the shore, it's a second home. It's a high price. You're not using it all the time, and you can't afford to make a mistake because you saved your money all this time to get to that place.
Right.
So you can't make a mistake. So that local knowledge there is extremely important at that level.
Okay.
But by the same token, where you live every day, you got to know that too. It would be helpful to know for somebody to know that the sewage treatment plant is, only a quarter mile away, and the prevailing winds are heading the direction of the house you're looking to buy,
or the mushroom farms down the street.
Yeah. So there's all of that, right?
Right.
So
okay.
Yeah. So I think it's equally important, and it's again, me being an odd animal spanning this wide area. I know that's something that comes up in people's heads, like,
See, you're breaking that down from the analytical brain a little bit. But in general, like if I were to, I guess the way I'm looking at it is like, if I'm a realtor, whether I'm selling in Chester County, Delaware County, Montgomery County, like, yeah, there's those little things like they're not necessarily little things,
sure,
but those are the things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But as far as like, can you successfully help me buy or sell a house in these areas? This is my perspective, and not trying to say this is how 100% how it is, but I think it's probably a little bit less important that I know, there's not as many nuances to the towns. Like there's a big change from Avalon to Atlantic City to all these different places,
Of course.
Like, I mean, you can drive, it's, you drive out of Atlantic City, you go, what's the first town? Ventnor, I think.
Ventnor, Margate.
And then you see the things change as you go.
Yeah.
Versus where it's like, okay, I drive down, drive down 30 going to the main line. It's really not.
It's a slow fade, not a dramatic change from in a short space.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know, I feel like an agent might be the agent I pick. I might be a little more picky if I'm looking in the coastal areas versus.
I get that. Yeah. If you're If you're smart, you are. Yes.
Yeah.
Some people just get tied into the emotion and nostalgia of it, and that's how they get into these houses with other agents that don't know those areas,
Yeah.
and then go, "Oh my gosh, it's raining. I'm taking a kayak to get to my house." You know.
So when I was younger, my family and I, we used to go up to the Poconos for vacation when I was little, and real estate up that way seems like it's very like, we used to have to go to the local real estate office to pick up the keys to the rental.
Sure.
And it seems like there's nowhere near as many options for real estate brokerages, agents, and stuff like that up there. And it's a little more like they want you to go. They want you to go directly to them. They don't want to be as like everybody can just reach out through the internet as much. I mean, I guess it's gotten better. But is it like that at the beaches also, where it's a little more boutiquey and like cliquey?
Yeah. So those coastal markets, it's a good old boys club down there.
Okay.
They want to protect their turf. I get that, and some of that's changing. I mean, for years you had these, for lack of a better term, like these family brokerages, and everybody has seen the names and knows the names of these brokerages, and there's each one's in each of these towns. Now with the larger scale brokerages like Compass and Long and Foster and Keller Williams and all the the corporate flags that are in these towns, it's become a little less. But it also varies by town. It also varies by town.
Okay, fair enough.
How some of that manifests is to work in those coastal areas, I need to belong to 2 additional MLS systems.
Okay.
That to handle from Brigantine down to Cape May. They have their own associations there. They have their own paperwork and contracts in those areas. Not like PA where you have a statewide contract. And of course, there's some different nuances as a result of that. But a lot of that, I know, this is just an opinion. This is not fact. That's my disclaimer. I feel that a lot of that is turf protection, and I've been snubbed in certain areas as a result of not being physically there.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I can tell you, Ocean City specifically, I've spent my entire life there. There is nobody that's going to out Ocean City me. There's these agents. I've been here for 20 years. Okay, yeah, I've been here for.
Don't you always love that
for
when they tell you how
57.
long they've been there?
Yeah, I've painted some of the houses that they're tearing down now when they were new construction, and I've seen that town develop over years and have been
Damn, how old are you? No,
yeah, I'm like 27. Yeah,
I like it.
But I have like 57 years of experience.
Perfect. That's what my one boss at my first job, pizza shop, told me. He's like, you ever talking to an older girl, just tell her how old you are and then make up the difference in years of experience.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like 18 with 10 years of experience.
Yeah. That's gold. That's gold.
So, okay. So with everything that we just talked about, like how it is down there, up here, people want options. Chester County, local area,
Sure.
people are like, hey, more options of, they don't look at it the same way. Are the residents and the people that live down there, are they protective of the good old boys club, or would they prefer to have it more the way we have here with like 9 million brokerages? How do you think they approach it?
I think all those barrier islands are flooded with brokerages anyway. It's just the nature of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of always been that way. I don't know if you remember when you were a kid going down to those places, you would see the real estate signs in the yard, and it was basically the sign writers, and they'd have 3 or 4 different brokerages listing the same property.
Yeah.
On the signs, right, for rent or for sale.
They still do that, don't they?
Not really.
No,
you
not
don't
as much?
really see that. It's a lot of that's shifted.
Okay.
Again, I have totally lost my train of thought here. I have no idea where
I was
I'm
saying
going.
that, yeah, how like, does the general population down there, the residents,
Okay.
do they prefer it the way, like the turf protecting and like, kind of being like, this is our thing, or would they prefer to have it more, the merrier options?
That's a great question. I don't honestly know the answer. My feel is it can go both ways, meaning you have the locals where it's, that localism, welcome to our beach, now go home, type of thing is there.
Yeah.
But you also have people that, most people that are down there are not lifelong residents. They've come from other places.
Yeah.
So they're open to having other people come in. I think it's more of an industry thing. The Good Old Boys Club is more of an industry thing than a resident preference, I guess you could say.
Okay. All right. Pick a beach town. I'm assuming you'll go with Ocean City.
Might surprise you.
Talk. Whether it's you have an actual example or paint a picture, like take me step by step. I'm a resident of Chester County. I'm looking for that vacation home. Take me through doing that. Like, where do I start? What are some things that I should be considering? What does doing a deal down there actually look like? Like, what's the process? How many times am I going to have to be up and back? A lot of times up here, people are like, okay, I found the house. I really don't need to see it again until settlement day. You know what I mean? But like, do I have to make a ton of trips to go back and forth for things? Like, take me through it. Like, be granular in this.
Okay, so if you know me, my answer is going to be, it depends, right? Because everything is situational to me. There's no blanket answer for anything.
100%.
So let's use Ocean City for example.
Let's keep it like pick a standard family.
Okay.
Standard, like, let's say it's a wife, husband, 3 kids.
Okay. So obviously budget is going to be a starting point, because that's going to determine where you're going to be able to go, what you're going to be able to get into. The conversation is always, your options. Condo, as in condo building, like with a pool, multiple units. Condo in the sense that it's, top floor, bottom floor duplex, or, 3-4 units. Or are we looking for single family home? How close do you want to be to the beach? Is that an issue to you? Do you want to be on the bay? Do you need a boat slip? What part of the town? Ocean City has, various areas. There's people that love the South End because it's more quiet there. There's people that love the North End and the Gardens because that's more residential and low key there. There's people that want to be right in that mix of, where the boardwalk and all the action is. There's people that want to be a little bit further south or in the shopping district area. So it's really about those conversations as far as, what's important to you. Where do you? The sale down there is always a nostalgia sale. We talked about it earlier. It's part of me. It's part of you. We've all gone down to those places when we were kids, and those memories are there. And we're trying to reproduce that for ourselves or for our family, and that's usually what's motivating the purchase down there. So that's part of the conversation. Well, where'd you go as a kid? What do you remember, right? Because that's going to help me with finding the right placement for you as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay, so we find a place. Mm-hmm. What's next?
So what kind of place are we talking about is the question.
Okay. I don't know.
Let's go.
Pick like, just imagine the ideal place. Hey, I love the boardwalk as a kid. I want to be able to be in and near the action because, when I bring my kids down, my grandkids at some point, we want to be able to be right there and do all the things that
close enough, but not right on top of it.
Sure.
Type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Walking distance.
Okay. So let's assume we're looking at a duplex. Then it's top floor versus bottom floor, and some of that's going to be price driven and what street you're on as far as proximity to boardwalk or beach or back further.
Okay.
It's pretty traditional. It's once you figure out what you're looking for from the houses, it's to answer your question about, how many trips and all that stuff down there, clearly I want to be respectful of somebody's time and also my own time, down there. So when I'm doing showings, I want to group homes together. I want to do, a bunch of homes in a tour rather than just the one hit type of homes. Unless something comes up that's, special and we need to get out there and see it.
Is it actually different once you're like get to the point of, hey, we're trying to buy it and make the offer? Is there really anything different?
I can't say there's anything specifically different, You're still going through your home inspections, all those types of things. Still having the negotiations behind all that, and contractually, it's
But nothing in buying a beach house that's like astronomically different or anything like that.
Not specifically. I mean, there's you start getting into the lagoons and on the water. Now there's other things that have to come into play.
Okay.
You need to be looking at flood elevations. You need to be looking at encroachment, access. Those types of things.
Okay.
So the Thailand search and different things that they do down there to make sure that where you assume your property line is, you actually have the rights to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The whole 3-day
Attorney review
thing. How do you look at that as a good thing or a nuisance?
It can be both. It can really be both. Again, if you're, as agents, we're not supposed to be practicing law.
Sure.
We do our best to try and protect our clients, but there are certain situations where you do want an attorney involved, for sure.
Well, we do it every day up here without that.
Right.
Why? What are we? Is it worse here because we don't do that? Or is it just like, and I'll tell you one of the things, at least this is how I perceive it, right? If I'm a seller, right? And from the buy side, I guess it doesn't really necessarily hurt you, but if I'm a seller, right? And you go under contract, you kind of have, okay, now I can start making decisions because I know I'm under contract,
sure.
Right? But down there, you're kind of left in limbo with the attorney review thing, because how can you make a good decision when you don't even know if something's going to happen?
Yeah.
So, is it better there that they have that, or are we doing it better here, or is it just different?
So I'm going to circle back to it depends, and I guess that the core of the answer is it's just different, right? Here's the benefits I see to it. I have a seller client right now in South Jersey with an interesting property. The property was built in the 1920s by the owner's father. It was added on to, so you have the kind of differential levels in the putting together of that property. A lot of issues with configuration. The house has a lot next door to it. The zoning for that property is transitional residential commercial, which means you have options there. So you can either rehab the existing house and build another house on the lot next door to it, or tear both of them down and potentially build something with commercial on the first floor and a couple residential apartments on the top floor. I have that under contract, but there's a due diligence period with something like that somebody's going to want to really look into what can they actually do from a zoning standpoint. What are the limits of what they're proposing to do versus what the zoning laws and so forth are going to allow. That's a case where I think attorney review is gold. I recommended to my client that the attorney write up the contract for that, because the buyer, who's investor developer, sent his own contract. Well, I definitely want attorney review on something like that.
Sure.
Could I do it? Sure. Could I do it as well as an attorney? Probably not. You know,
ChatGPT.
yeah. I want those protections for my clients. So I think attorney review is an extreme benefit in those scenarios. Okay. Where it becomes problematic is 3-day attorney review is 3 business days. So it doesn't include weekends and holidays. So here's the wiggle. You get your clients under contract, a buyer client, and it's on Thursday. So let's say it's Wednesday. Documents are signed Wednesday. Attorney review starts Thursday. Day 2 of attorney review is Friday. Weekend, you're on hold. Attorney review doesn't end until Monday. Better offer comes in over the weekend. Your buyers were excited they're getting this house. Then all of a sudden, you get the disapproval letter from the seller's attorney saying, we disapprove of the contract. Here's the addendum that we want your buyer to sign to move this forward. And you can make that addendum so egregious that you kill the deal. There's that possibility. I don't see it often, but there's that possibility.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's the downside. The other downside is any change you make to that contract. So again, you think about a traditional transaction in Pennsylvania. You have inspections. You negotiate the inspections. You create an addendum. Well, any addendums or changes to that contract, 3-day attorney review in New Jersey triggers again.
Okay.
So you're never done until you're done.
Yeah, that's annoying. Now, having that experience doing that in Jersey, you're also licensed in PA. Would you ever bring an attorney into a deal in PA? Let's say it was the same kind of scenario, but it was here in Pennsylvania. Would you have suggested bringing an attorney in, or would you just have used your experience and went with the way things are set up here?
Well, I have a responsibility to my client. And again, the way my brain works, I'm not let's lock up the deal agent. That's not my primary directive. Yes, I want to lock up the deal and get paid like any other agent does. But first and foremost is this the best for my client? So my conversation in that scenario would be, here's my opinion. You may want to have an attorney look at this.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's solid advice. But if there's anything that I sense or feel that I'm not comfortable with or that's outside of my comfort level, then I'm absolutely going to recommend to a PA client that they have an attorney review it.
Okay.
Attorneys are they're like nuclear weapons, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to use them, but when you need them, they're the best thing ever.
Fair enough. Okay. Here's some more fun questions. What are the 3 hottest beach towns in Jersey that related to like real estate? People want to be there, all that good things popping off.
Wow. Ocean City's really popped. Ocean City's become a money town. It never used to be that. It used to be, low-key family town. And it's interesting to see that transition from, when I was a child and how Ocean City was to where it's at now. I mean, the price of homes has.
Why do you think that is?
I think people want to be there. They remember the Ocean City of their childhood, and that the slogan's America's greatest family resort, right? And it's a great family town community. There's a lot of things you have there that you don't have in other towns. So I think that's driven the build up for sure. So that's one.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, I think if you're looking for opportunity and underrated towns, Brigantine. I love Brigantine.
I probably agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, Brigantine is you have access to Atlantic City and everything Atlantic City offers without having to be physically in Atlantic City or tied to it like you do in like let's say you're in Ventnor. You have Atlantic City access, but you're really it's like just drawing a line between 2 towns.
When I went, prior to this past year, my only experience at Brigantine was Borgata.
I gotcha. Yeah, sure.
And
sure.
but I actually I got invited with some friends. My one friend has a house down in Brigantine. It was my first time like actually driving into
Through
like
Brigantine,
the town.
yeah.
And I'm like, this is actually pretty nice.
Yeah, but Brigantine has a lot of cool things. The fact that you're able to drive 4-wheel drive vehicles on the beach all year
wow.
round, with the beach permit, I mean that's great because there's some areas of Brigantine that are a little bit more remote, like back on the golf course and places like that, to get beach access. But you can load everything up in your truck, drive right on the beach, back your truck up against the dunes there, and open the tailgate and set up your
awesome.
deal for the day, and I mean, what's better than that? I mean,
the way it should be.
It's completely convenient, right?
Yep.
I mean, that town is developing as well, and it does get packed. On the holidays, it's hard to do that in some of those places. But yeah, Brigantine, I think there's prices are definitely going up, and they have been climbing, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there still to get a nice property for a decent place and have that older town feel.
Would you say the Brigantine of all the beach towns is probably the best one if I'm trying to find a good opportunity? Or
That's a great question, and what I tell people is, if you're looking for I do tell them it depends, because again, what do you want, right? People, if I say Brigantine, everybody goes, "Oh my God, greenhead flies." Well, that problem's been abated a lot. I mean, Ocean City used to have greenhead flies. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, they've developed it so darn much that's eliminated the habitat for the most part. So you don't have
bug spray with your purchase.
You don't have those issues, but again, it depends where did you grow up? What was your experiences? I mean, I have talked to people that were looking in Ocean City, but the price point was too high, and I said, well, you might want to look at Brigantine. And I've had some people buy in those areas, and the other areas, the Wildwoods. Wildwood Wildwood itself is a different town than it used to be when I was a kid. I think it's shifted and has improved. I had a client that bought a brand new construction, 5-bedroom, 4.5 bath house on one of the lagoons with a boat slip. You can get a 30-foot boat in. Gorgeous home. And Brigantine has a tax program that if you buy new construction, you get not an abatement, but basically a discount for an X number of years. So Wildwood, different areas of Wildwood. The Crest I love, Wildwood Crest. Mm-hmm. Even North Wildwood. I mean, North Wildwood is a bit of a challenge with the beaches. You're going to most likely have to drive drive a little further south to get to a beach. But, North Wildwood, Anglesey, that area, I mean, great little areas.
Yeah.
You still have, it's going away, but you still have affordability in some of those areas that you wouldn't have in some of the other towns.
Cool. So would you make Wildwood the third one, or you have another one?
I would probably say the third one. Yeah.
Okay.
Third one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where's the best surfing in Jersey?
Gosh, you're going to keep pushing me back to it depends, aren't you?
Really?
Yes. Here's why. Here's why. It depends on what's generating the swell, which direction is it coming from, which way are the winds blowing. So that's really the answer to the question, right? When you're looking at storms or the wave models, and look, I have like 4 different apps on my phone that notify me.
You are a nerd, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Look, I used to watch the Weather Channel. I used to watch the Weather Channel to see where the low pressure systems were and how they were moving to see when the waves were coming. That was part of your wave forecasting back then, right? So there's
Well, are there I mean, I understand the nature part of it, but is
I
there
can't tell you the secret spots if that's what you're asking for.
What about
we're very protective of our
towns?
breaks.
Does one town have better spots over
they
the
each
other?
have their own spots, right? I mean,
Okay.
so Ocean City has 7th Street, right? That's the surfing beach, but there's other spots depending on how things, again, wind and wave direction. Brigantine's got the jetty.
If I buy a house with you, will you tell me the good spots?
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe. I can't give you all the secret surf spots because then they get ruined.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Where's your favorite pizza down on the boardwalks?
Wow. Everybody's going to want me to say Mac and Manco or Manco.
Yeah.
Manco and Manco pizza. That's the tourist stuff. Mm-hmm. And I get it. It's, look, it's its own unique flavor and all that.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Where do you go? Or can't we give out that secret either?
That secret might be reserved for my special clients. I tend to eat at different places in the off season, not in the on season, because the crowds, again, coming from where I came from, the crowds are so heavy.
Yeah. That
I generally don't do as much of that in the in high season.
Okay.
If you're looking for like one of my favorite little spots, I can tell you is in Summers Point, Smitty's, the Clam Bar. It's BYOB.
Nice.
They hand paper cups out. You can tailgate in the parking lot, so you bring your own stash. Seafood's good. It's reasonably priced. My wife and I actually got engaged there. So that's how long I've been going there and how attached to it I am.
Okay. Very cool. You got a favorite breakfast spot down there?
Ooh. Wow. There's so many different places. I don't know. I mean, like all the classics, Varsity Inn, Augie's, Brown's up on the boardwalk. I mean,
where I don't know if I would rank it as like premium food by any means, but I always used to go with my family to Uncle Bill's.
Uncle Bill's, yeah.
So it's just like you said, it's like a nostalgia thing.
Sure.
Like anytime I'm down there for breakfast, I'm going to Uncle Bill's.
So Uncle Bill's in Ocean City, is that where you went to?
Ocean City, yeah.
So which one did you go to? The one at like 20th Street? And
I don't
Asbury?
know where I think if I'm down if Boardwalk is over here, it's on my right going that way, or are they both on that side? I guess they probably are. I'm not sure which one it is.
So again, crazy,
It's kind of on a corner, if that is a difference.
So crazy how long I've been at Ocean City. Story for you. The Uncle Bill's at 21st Street and Asbury. That was originally a seafood place and a custard place. So I've seen that change over years. And the one that they have at 40th and West on a corner, that was a seafood place. So I guess, Uncle Bill's follow seafood places when they choose their locations. I don't know. And a hardware store that I used to go to all the time to get fishing tackle and all that. But
wow.
Yeah. So Uncle Bill's is, multiple locations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always packed there.
Yeah.
It's always packed.
Yeah, for sure. What's going on with Wonderland Pier? Do they know what the hell's going on with that yet?
No, I mean, that's all still up in the air. And there's a lot of people with strong feelings on both sides. I have my own opinions about it that I don't want to go too deep into.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a shame. I think it's a real loss for Ocean City. Mm-hmm. I understand everything around it. And I understand you can't be stuck in the past. You have to move forward. And what's the right thing for the town and for the people? I don't honestly know the answer.
Were they losing money, or did they just decide they wanted out, the owners?
So the mayor, whose family owned the property, was losing money there. He had some financial issues, and that's what kind of drove everything.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, I never went down. There were times when
you always went there. Right?
When I was an adult,
kid, sure.
I would go with my nieces and nephews and
of course,
stuff. It's
sure.
like it always went there.
That was such a big part and such a big anchor of the boardwalk. And
yeah.
that's why I think it's such a loss.
I wish they would find something, whatever it ends up being, find something to do that can fill that hole, whether it's an amusement park or just something that's like a place families want to go, as opposed to. Weren't they talking about putting up like condos or something?
So they were one of the ideas is Icona Hotel.
Okay.
They have an Icona in Avalon.
Yeah. Okay.
Same owner would be involved there. He's actually the current owner of the property. So I don't, whether that'll happen or it won't, I don't know. There's been other things that have been put on the table as well. where that's, shops, and they would preserve some of the amusements. But, my understanding is, and again, I have my opinions. I don't know the full details. I haven't dug into it that deeply. But there's some structural issues with that whole pier that's there that supports all of the amusement. So because whatever is built there's going to need to be a lot of work done to accommodate that.
Right.
So
and that's a huge consideration.
The expense of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, with amusements, the insurances and the maintenance, it's not it's a hard business.
That other amusement park that's in the middle, kind of in the middle.
Playland.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's so much more adult at that one. It's not as
younger kids. It doesn't have the kiddie rides type of stuff as much. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that's where I probably would go at my age, but
and Playland's really been developed over the years.
Yeah.
They've really expanded that a lot. So, the fact that we still as a town have an amusement park, I think is huge.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
But I was a little like, damn, I can't believe it's gone. Like,
it's definitely look, if I'm being nostalgic, I truly miss the Ocean City of my childhood, where you knew exactly what street you were at, because there were the houses and buildings and things that were there was just so different at that time. Now everything's, you took a 40-foot lot where there was a single family home where you knew the family that came down every summer, or the same people rented there for a month, every year that you were friends with. That's gone, and there's two duplexes on a 30-foot lot that are packed with people that are turns over every week now.
Yeah.
So it's very different, and there's arguments both sides, right? I can tell you all this development's bad. I can tell you it's good. There's definitely both sides of this, and I feel both sides. I absolutely, if you were to ask me if all things being equal, could we go back to the Ocean City I grew up in as a kid? 100%.
Yeah.
There was nothing better. Nothing better.
For me, when it comes to progress or or change, I'm not opposed to that type of thing and new stuff if the past is respected.
Of course. Yeah.
It's like when they whatchamacallit, the Ghostbusters is like my favorite movie of all time.
Nice.
The first one was the year I was born. And when they came out with the first new one with the women too? Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay, that one. Okay.
And they did not respect the original at all. I was like, in that one, it's like people are like, we don't talk about that one.
Yeah.
And the new ones, are they as good as the originals? No, they're not. But they respected the originals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you felt like, it was a good thing.
Yeah, there was that tie into that, and that like you said, the respect for it.
Right.
I guess.
So that's why I said it's like, do something. Do something that can fill, because that hole was like, it wasn't a hotel that's going down. It was a place where families made memories,
course,
and like something you did. I wish they could find some kind of something there, even if it is partly a hotel, to be able to find something that
something useful that adds value and brings people to the town.
Something that's like, hey, I want to go there, when I hit the boardwalk.
Yeah.
But man, we can talk about that all day in the old days, right?
100%.
So if somebody is looking to buy or sell in general, or is looking for the ultimate, coastal Jersey expert, how do they get in touch with Greg Davis?
Website, suburbstoshore.com is a good place. You could actually search for properties in coastal towns.
Okay.
The other thing is to call me.
Cool. Sounds good. We'll throw your information down there. And then last question, we ask every one of our guests, give us a positive message to the world.
Wow. Positive message to the world. You knew I was going to struggle with this one, right? Didn't you?
Everybody does.
Yeah. God. Hold on one second. Look at something. I actually put something down the other day that I thought was good.
He's prepared, ladies and gentlemen.
So it was a quote that I heard the other day, and I can't remember specifically who it was from. My wife's going to get mad for me not remembering. So the quote is, focus on who you are and don't apologize for the things you're not. Why that's a positive message? In the conversation today, I'm very different, and not in a kooky way.
Oh, we see.
Yeah, you outed me. My personality type is 2% of the world population, so I've always felt different, and that's okay. But focusing on who I am and not apologizing for who I'm not, it took me a long time to get there. But I think if people do that, then they can become more to themselves in the world and serve the world in a better place and just have more happiness at their core. When you're, be who you are. There's value in who you are. And you may not think that there is, but 100% there's value in being who you are.
I don't think there's enough of that. I think so many people, it's like, yeah, there's aspirations and working towards things, but if you're, if you don't embrace who you are at your core, maybe, you're holding yourself back.
Yep.
I love it, man.
Great.
Greg, thanks so much.
Thank you. It's fun being here.
Yeah, man. That was a good conversation.
Well done.
Cool.